Þorbjörnsson, Valbert skorar! Valbert Gunnarsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Bergeirsson og skoðamark! Glæsilega gert! Óskar Rafn á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og það aftur Ingólfsson!
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the best pod ever. Despite our promises of being back to normal, it's just me this week. Ragnar had to go away for the weekend, and because of the games and how they stacked up this week, we had to record a bit later than usual. So you're stuck with me for this week, but next week we should be back to normal, hopefully. So a quick run through of the games as they were played. Like I said, it was a bit of a long weekend. If we go, but this is after the split now, so we're officially post-split. So if we go top half of the split, we had 3 games, as is now the norm of each split. Valur drew against Stjarnan 2-2. In a very sort of split game. Stjarnan were leading 2-0, and it looked like Valur were in a lot of trouble. Their European place under heavy scrutiny at that point. But they came back. Gylfi especially highlighted in that game with a really nice goal. Sort of took the game, took control of the situation and equalized and dragged Valur back to a point. Tough last 4 games, I think, for Valur. They still don't really look as good as they would hope. There's even some talk about manager situations, which we'll go into later. At the other end of the top half, if we go to the top 2 teams, both of them won. Breiðablik beat IA 2-0. Víkingur beat FO 3-0. So Víkingur stay top. Yeah, Breiðablik did what we sort of asked them to do in their last pod. They managed to get past a really tough EA side, and they're trekking on. It's really hard to see if anything can drag them down. It's just been confirmed that the final game of the season will be Víkingur against Breiðablik on the Sunday, the 27th of October, which is the only game on the Sunday. So the whole league will have been finalized and done on the Saturday, the 26th, but Víkingur Breiðablik will be played on the Sunday. And that's because Víkingur has a European game around there, so that's the reason for that little scheduling decision. Maybe have the whole I don't know. Do you have the whole on the Sunday instead then? Try to get everything done at the same time, or is this better? I honestly don't. I'm not quite sure which one is better. If it's better to have everything done and then, try to get a lot of attention on the final league game. The risk is it's a bit of a dud. If either team has already secured the title at that point, then it's sort of the whole league is done, but we still have one more game. But obviously it could be a huge match if it's still undecided, if they're tied on points like they are now. But they truck on. Víkingur with a really solid win against FO outside, who seem to be a little bit on the beach. Not sure they're going for any sort of they're going for, but I'm not sure they're going to get to any sort of European place. They're 6 points behind Valur now. Yeah, I don't see that. They're out of Europe, I think, unfortunately for them. But yeah, it's there's this one European place if we sort of jump around a little bit, and that is because if we stick to Víkingur, they lost a cup final. That's a rare thing for them to do. They lost to Kawa 2-0. The first cup win for Kawa in their history. It's huge result for them. Congratulations to Kawa, by the way. Very deserved win. There were discussion points about the first goal, which seemed to hit a Kawa player on the hand. And there were some calls for penalties and such. There was a lot of, but I think overall Kawa probably deserved that win. They were very much focused on this game. You could see that in the league games leading up to it, that this is their focus, and understandably so. They have a cup and they're in Europe next year. Yeah, this hopefully for them, this is a bit of a springboard. This is not just another season and next season where they maybe fail to live up to the expectations we're going to have for them. They're definitely going to have to start a bit faster than they have done in previous seasons. So we'll see. Hopefully this is a springboard, but congratulations to Kawa. Well deserved. And if we take that as a bit of a springboard down to the bottom half, we had 3 games in the bottom half. Kawa 2, Vestri 2, Fram 2, Fylkir 0, and Kawa 3, Háká 3. And yeah, if we stick to Háká, this was the last game of the round. Crazy game as usual with Háká, I think. I don't know, maybe I'm being unfair. I think there's always a lot of drama around these games. It's either penalties or dramatic wins or red cards, and it seems to have most of that in this game. Háká were 2-1 ahead. At that point, you might have been forgiven to think that Kawa just back north from a cup win, maybe a bit of some hangovers, maybe a bit of a rotated squad. But yeah, they bounced back, and that was in part because of a Háká red card. I don't know, they seem to get more red cards. In my head, they get red cards all the time, but it doesn't seem to be as true as I think it is, so I don't know. I'm maybe biased against Háká, in which case I apologize to them. But yeah, a red card. Kawa seemed to get the control of the game at that point. They went ahead 3-2, especially the third goal was a corner. There's a nice header, but a corner. I feel like Háká shouldn't concede corners. Their set pieces are insanely good, insanely well taken, insanely well delivered, and for them to concede a set piece just seems wrong somehow, especially something that easy. So, but yeah, then they came back. Last thing they did in the game was to secure a draw. And it's an important point because they are now just 2 points ahead of Vestri, 4 points ahead of Fylkir, and 1 point behind Kaur. And that's it's still very tight. Fylkir losing to Fram, especially 2-0. Fylkir were on the front foot for most of the game. It was a nice comeback. I mean, they said to themselves, a nice sort of bounce back, maybe more than a comeback, but a nice bounce back from that drubbing they had against Víkingur in the last round. But still, it was still all for naught because they had the ball and they had the chances, but they lost 2-0. So yeah, they're quickly running out of steam. They're playing Kawa now on Sunday this weekend. If they lose again, I think that might almost be it. But let's see. There's still four rounds left, and then Vestri 2-2 against Kaur. This was if Háká are crazy, then Kaur are I don't even know what they are. A sort of competent first half, and then from Kaur, but just an insane. There's a reason why both of these teams are in the relegation battle. Second half, I felt more passes to the opponent than anyone else. I don't know. Kaur went ahead 2-1. Maybe people thought they were going to win that, but Vestri just had, especially Andri Rúnar's goal, that epitomized both teams quite well. Vestri has these moments of brilliance, especially against the Kaur defense that cannot defend. but they just don't do it enough. They can't replicate it enough, and but they almost stole the victory. Andri Rúnar had a goal saved in almost the last minute, or it feels like the last minute. It was pretty late in the game, at least. Smith with a really nice save. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to dwell too much on Coward. I'm sure we'll talk about them more in the next few weeks. But an interesting stat that we tweeted about was that Coward conceded 19 goals back in 2021, which was a bit of a record. And then since then, it's just gone completely the wrong way. So 19 in 2021, and then around 30, and then in the 30s for 2022 and 2023, and then 2024 we're now in the 40s. And sorry, this was for 22 game season, so these post splits don't count. So this is only because this is also including seasons with before the splits were happened. So it's definitely going the wrong way, and Oscar doesn't seem to be stopping this slide just yet. And there was also an interesting discussion about him, that he actually has after six games he had 0.66 points on average per game, which is a little worse than both Paul Merab and Greg Ryder. I don't think it says that much about Oscar. I think it says a lot about Coward, and I think we'll leave it at that, because we talk about Coward too much, and I think there's going to be some talk a little bit later when we go over some of the news. But yeah, relegation battle is very tight. Like I said, 5 points between Coward and Fylkir, 3rd and 6th, I guess, in the split. Kawa and Fram should be out of this. I cannot see a world where either of them get dragged into it, although I think Fram winning against Fylkir just completely put a stop to that. Any sort of talk to that. I think Kawa probably just needs a win against Fylkir to do the same, because if they lose, again, I really don't think they can get dragged into this. They're 9 points behind Vestri in relegation, but I think just for their sake, I think they just need to win just to absolutely secure their place. And then it's down to the bottom 4 to see what happens. I teased about the news. There were some news. Transfer talk already. So there's a lot of talk about Fredrik Skram, the Valur goalkeeper. We talked about him, that he's lost his place to Ögmundur in Valur on the Valur goal. His contract is running out at the end of the season. There's talk that he's signed a deal with Coward, although Oscar has denied that piece of news. So, but we'll see. Gismed has definitely been criticized. I think he's had much better games when he's not been asked to do things that he maybe isn't as good at doing, or maybe didn't suit his sort of style of play, and also the people in front of him as well. So when it's just saving shots, he's done better. Although I think he didn't have the greatest game against someone in the last. I'm blanking on the game, but it wasn't sort of mixed. But I think there is a general consensus that Coward are looking at a goalkeeper. That could be Fredrik Skram. There's another goalkeeper that it could be is Halldór Snær in Fjölnir, who's also being semi-linked to FH, because FH actually swapped out Sindri from he's lost his place, at least for the moment, to Daði Freyr. Although not everyone has been super convinced by Daði so far. So there is going to be discussions at FH as well, I think, at the goalkeeping situation. Sindri came in a bit of time ago. Sort of previous co-host Joe was never super convinced by Sindri. He made that very clear. So yeah, I think that's something that's going to be a discussion point. Another across the street almost at Valur, there's a lot of talk. The smaller news is that they're bringing back Birkir Heimisson, but they're buying him back from Thor. It was sort of a weird transfer that they sold him to Thor. He's a player that came from Heerenveen, or he's sort of had played in Heerenveen before, and there's a lot of hope on this midfielder, but then sold to Thor. Maybe there was the thought that he would be the part of that Thor team that was expected to fight for promotion, which very much didn't. They almost got relegated, or they were much closer to relegation than promotion. So he's being brought back according to rumors. But the biggest news from Valur, from Hlíðarenda, is that there are sources that claim that they know that Valur are having conversations with Rúnar Kristinsson of Fram, famously Coward, I guess. Rúnar has denied it. Fram have denied it. But yeah, these sources are adamant. It would be insane for Valur to already be looking for a replacement for Tuva after signing him up on a 3-year deal. But with the sort of money and the sort of name power with Gylfi and others at Valur, I think they want success, very much need success next season. And maybe they're not convinced by Tuva if these stories are to be believed. And I mean, if they think they can get Rúnar, then I mean, as a club like Valur, why would you not at least try? Yeah, I mean, as a Cowher fan, it sounds awful. Already, just him going to Fram was a bit of a pill to swallow, but losing him to Valur, seeing him win titles at Valur would be disastrous. But like I said, if you're Valur, why would you not try? He is statistically one of the best managers in the league. He's at Fram, which I would assume means he's a bit cheaper than some of the other managers. Yeah, I mean, this is a story that we'll see played out over the next few weeks, especially at the end of the season. More news about stadiums. So if we start with the good news, Víkingur, it was been confirmed a few days ago that it's a bit of old news, but Víkingur will play their European games in Iceland, which is great. Partly great. It's great because it's not in Faroe Islands. Nothing against Faroe Islands, but you don't want to be playing your European games in a different country. The not so great part of it is that these games are being played in the middle of the day because the floodlights, the sort of facilities aren't good enough according to UEFA, which is it's not ideal. How many people are gonna show up to European games in the middle of the day? We'll see. We'll soon find out. We're hoping to do some sort of previews for these European games with experts from these countries, like we did with Flora. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully, we'll be releasing something. So yeah, puts a bit of a dampener, I guess, that it's being played in the middle of the day, but it's a boost that they're not being played in abroad. But this is a situation that Iceland needs to fix and at least think about, because this is we can't having this discussion every single year if we're gonna have, and we want a team to qualify for the group stages every single year now, or most years at least, and we can't have this discussion every year. And UEFA is apparently reportedly sick of granting Iceland all these dispensations, so we can't do this forever. Another piece of stadium news is that Cowher, after losing a stadium guy, that I can call him, have now, I mean, I don't know if this was a direct relation to it. It seems like it's a bit of a coinkydink. But now they're going to go for AstroTurf. They're not quite sure when it's happening. There is talk that they might have played their last game on grass ever, or in the foreseeable future, and that the game against Fram this weekend might already be played at Lengjudeildin. Again, it's just all a mess around Cowher in general. But yeah, moving to AstroTurf, that seems to be the way Cowher are moving, and we will have more on that as it develops. Lengjudeildin, the promotion to the Bestadeildin. The final will be on Saturday, so at the time of recording tomorrow. So you might be listening to this after the final. So it's Keflavík Afturelding, as we predicted. Keflavík with a convincing 6-4 aggregate win over IR. The main talking point there was that, or two main talking points was that IR sort of almost had a comeback, or had a really heroic comeback in the second leg, in the first half of the second leg, going 3-0 up. But Keflavík got the two goals to distance themselves and finish the tie. The second was that in the first leg, Axel Ingi Jóhannesson got a straight red for punching out sort of towards an opponent, and another punching incident. We can see what Ragnar has to say about it next week, but yeah, he was that was deemed as not worthy of a too much ban either. So yeah, he just missed the second leg, and he'll be ready for the final. Some discussion on that. Afturelding had their own suspension drama as well. So they beat Fjölnir 3-1 on aggregate, 0-0 in the second leg, just completely shut down that tie. But in the first leg, Elmar Kári Ernesson Kokic was at the center of the match in more ways than one, playing very well, but then embroiled in a controversy. So he gets a yellow card for what is adjudged to be a dive. And then Afturelding quickly realized that this means that he has now gotten enough cards for a suspension, for yellow cards sort of throughout a 20 plus season, especially when we go into playoffs, whether that makes sense. But yeah, he would have gotten suspended, but because of the oddities of Icelandic bureaucracy, I guess, is because the disciplinary committee wouldn't have met until Tuesday, which was after the decision wouldn't have taken effect until after the second leg of the tie. It would have meant that instead of automatically going into a ban for the second leg, Elmar would have gone, most likely he would have been suspended for the final, because the committee doesn't meet until the Tuesday. Sorry, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely insane. So, like, just because they play that day, yeah, I think this is the most insane thing I've ever heard. So, but then, yeah, this quickly became apparent with an Afturelding team and fans, and I mean, you can't prove any of this, but it seemed very much like this was communicated to Elmar, and then even by the fans, because he got a penalty at the end of the first leg, which he missed, but the fans were shouting, take off your shirt so he would get a yellow card and a red, because if he gets that, then that's a direct suspension, of course, rather than a four yellows, which is also an automatic, but a different way. But then he got a yellow card at the very end of the last second of the game, when he pushed over a Fjölnir player, which, I mean, he says this was completely unrelated to the whole suspension drama, and it's because he was annoyed at missing the penalty. I mean, we don't know, we'll never know, but this whole thing is just ridiculous. But yeah, Afturelding Keflavík, no idea who's going to win this. There's a lot of people who say Afturelding. I mean, we haven't seen enough of these teams to have an opinion. Afturelding's second time in the final in 2 years. We'll see if they have some time for revenge, or if Keflavík goes straight back up. We'll know tomorrow. You might have already know this at the time of listening to this podcast. So we'll talk about it more. If we go quickly to the players of the round, Fredji gets the first one. Like we talked about, Fylkir had everything in that game, but Fredji, I mean, there's a video on our Twitter still where he just muscles off a player, and then two players, I think, even, and then sets up the first goal. I mean, that's just the epitome of how he was playing, and he deserves another star from us. We're not biased at all. No, but I think he definitely deserves it. The second one, Gylfi, like I spoke about before, stepped up to drag his team to a vital point and score a great equalizer that we also have on our Twitter still. Check that out. It's an amazing goal. And then the third star, actually going to give to Helgi Guðjóns of Víkingur. I was going to give it to a Káa player if they would have won against Háká, but either Dagur Ingi Valsson scored a goal in both the cup final and in here, or Mikael Breki Þórðarson, who played his debut for Káa and scored a goal. Celebrated that with a goal. So even though they lost the final, they get a star here. So I'm sure that'll be enough of a compensation. But Helgi is a bit of an unsung hero somehow. Viking could have an unsung hero, but he's really stepped up this season, taken a bit of the mantle more from Nico. Scored 2 goals here, and putting Vikingur back on top after a long and difficult week. Check out the first goal in that game where Aron Elís sets Helgi for the first goal. The pass is ridiculous. It's absolutely world class. That's kind of it. I think I did want to go through. We made a lot of polls on our Twitter. We talked a lot about sports betting and football on the last episode. We asked, are you positive, neutral, or negative? 44% were negative, 33 neutral, and 22 positive. So a bit of a mixed reaction. I This 4 yellow cards in a season should it trigger a suspension? 82% people said no, and 18 said yes. So most people are agreeing with us. Title favorites, Breiðablik or Víkingur, 50-50. We did not count Valur in that. So yeah, it's down to the wire very much. Who will be relegated first? Fylkir with 83%. I would kind of agree with that, but Háká at 17%. And Vestri and Káa at 0, which surprised me a little bit. Maybe everyone just went for Fylkir and a few Breiðablik fans went for Háká. Who's winning the cup on Saturday? 86% of people said Víkingur, so most of you were wrong. To be fair, I probably would have said Víkingur as well, but yeah, again, congratulations, Káa, upsetting the odds. And then finally, who will join IPVAF in Bestadeildin's next season from Lengjudeildin? This is before the semifinals. 63% said Keflavík and 31% said Afturelding with a 6% in IR. Let's sort of, even though it's before the semifinals, most people seem to think if Keflavík are going to take this all the way. So we'll see tomorrow. If we quickly go over the games in the next round, so Sunday we have in the top half, we have FH Breiðablik and Valur Víkingur. Another chance for these two top teams to show what they're made of. And then on Monday we have Stjarnan IA. So Europe is still very much open, especially Stjarnan. I think maybe more, especially Stjarnan, but IA still have a very good chance. They have some injuries after that loss against Breiðablik. We'll see how serious they are, if they can bounce back from that to beat IA and get themselves back into European race. So a lot still left to play for there. And the bottom half, Sunday we have all 3 games: KR Fram, Vestri Háká, and Fylkir Káa. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Fram and Káa do for the next 4 games, if they take it completely seriously or if they start to go on the beach a little bit. That's always the risk with these splits, as if some 1 or 2 teams and then towards the middle maybe don't have that much to play for. If they start to maybe rest some players or try some youth players or try some new things, and then, this is where the teams that still have stuff to play for can take advantage of that. But that'll be all for me. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening, news and games and everything. So it was still a long, decently long one. But I hope to be back with Ragnar next week when we have a lot more stuff to talk about. This is getting towards the end of it, where there's a lot of things being decided every single week. So I hope you'll join us then, and follow us on Instagram, X, Twitter, and on Threads at Bestaenglish. Please, interact with us and all these polls and all these videos that we're posting and all these things. It's fun when you interact and when we have discussions. It's always the most fun. And we'll see you here next week. Have a great week of watching Icelandic football. Bye bye.